guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah and you're tapped into Oh, Have Y'all Seen? So in this video, we're going to be talking about episode 1 of the newest documentary on HBO Max called Chimp Crazy. Okay, and crazy it was. Okay, so let's get into it. Before we get into it, I just want to give a shout out to the content creator called Watch With Me LEB. I actually saw her video the other day, and when I tell you, I screamed. Like, I was cackling all throughout the video. She is hilarious, and I love her New Orleans accent. She has a channel. She reviews a lot of different shows. I think she does more scripted shows like Interview with a Vampire, Swans, House of Dragons, and things like that. But she is hilarious, so definitely check out her Chimp Crazy video and her other videos. But I watched her video because I had seen the trailer for a Chimp Crazy, and I was just like, I don't know. And I saw that it was made by the same director who directed Tiger King, and I was all up in that drama. That was a good documentary. But I was just like, I don't know if I'm really interested in this. But after watching her video, I said, you know what? Let me slide over to HBO Max and see what it's hitting on. And her recommendation and her review did not disappoint. So after watching, I was like, okay, I got to talk about this on my channel because it was crazy. So definitely check out Watch With Me LEB because she is funny as I don't know what. She is hilarious. So one opens up and we meet Tonia. And you can tell that Tonia different. Miss Tonia is different. So she's sitting in this all pink room with this pink jogger suit on, sitting in the middle, and she has like 2 bunk beds in the room, one on each side. And she ends up saying, monkey love is different from human love. And I'm looking at Tonia like, how? And what do you mean by that, Tonia? Because you kind of creeping me out. So then she talks about how humans are meant to grow up. And I'm like, so you don't think chimpanzees are meant to grow up? So she just talks about how you can mold chimps into what you want them to be. They will be basically they're malleable. And she also talks about how kids have their own brain. Like, kids eventually grow up and have their own mind. So you want somebody to be dependent on you. Honestly, this whole entire first episode just showed how toxic of a cycle this is for the animal who's suffering the most and the people in it, because oftentimes a lot of these people just want something that is that is solely dependent on them, that can't leave them, because they know you are the only way they're going to get fed and taken care of. And that's basically what it is. So we end up seeing Tonia on some compound playing with this adult chimp. And mind you, he a big man. That's a big fella. That's a big animal, okay? And so you see him, and he's in this room that's honestly about the size of 2 supply closets, 2 janitor supply closets. It's not big at all, and he need more room. And it's a plexiglass window, and then it's the walls are green, yellow, pink, and blue, the primary colors. Then you see this door that's barred up, and it has a chute so they can drop food through it. And she's sticking her hand in there, playing with the chimpanzee. And we end up finding out that the chimpanzee's name is Tonka. And Tonia loves her some Tonka. She talks about how they just bonded, they connected, they just have a bond, have a something. I said, okay, lady. And so she just loves him down. We then get introduced to Pam and Roger. We see Pam and Roger sitting in their den. Pam and Roger look every bit of 70-something years old. And then next thing you know, the camera pans down, and it is a chimpanzee just sitting there like a child. Next thing you know, the chimpanzee starts to freak out and get excited, because on the screen, it looks like it's an adult that's dressed in a gorilla costume, beating with sticks or something on rocks, on bones and stuff. And so the chimp starts making the same sounds as the gorilla on the TV and starts to scream and walk about. And Pam is trying to push the chimp down. Now, mind you, I'm you doing all this pushing to an animal that can rip your hands off and your face. Ma'am. And so you actually see the chimp get up and go to the TV, and I'm noticing that he has on pants, which I'm girl, why y'all got pants on this end? But then again, I guess it's your house. So then you see her grab this wire and like pull, and basically she has this like cord around this chimp's neck, and that's how she is pretty much controlling it to do what she wants it to do. She talks about how she loves him down. We actually see the chimp like sitting next to her with like a glass full of tea or soda, just like drinking it. And I'm saying, girl, what? So we get a little bit more backstory about Miss Pam. She is a circus lady. Her family has been in the circus for generations, and like the act that they put on primarily was like a chimpanzee act. So she loves chimps down because that's like pretty much what she's always grown up with. And we find out that she actually became like semi-viral back in like the 70s or 80s. I want to say it's probably the 80s. No, maybe the 70s, because the pictures that they showed was given 70s. But she went kind of viral because when she had her daughter Dallas, we actually see Dallas in this part of the documentary, and she's an adult now. She said she had her daughter Dallas. They had gotten a pre-meed chimpanzee. Mind you, the baby was having a hard time like digesting milk, or it wasn't latching on to its mother. So because she was already lactating, because she had just had a baby herself, she decides to breastfeed it. And I said, I know you did not. And she did. She breastfed it. And her husband, Roger, said, I went out for a minute. Next thing you know, I came in the room and she got both of them on a titty. A monkey here, a baby here. I said, and that didn't stress you out? So I guess people found out about it, and there was a article in the paper, and you actually see Dallas a lot older. She looks about maybe like 5 or 6, and they basically, her and the chimp were raised as siblings. Even in the documentary, Dallas talks about how like when he found out like boys would like me, he would throw poop at them. He wasn't nice to them, and she was like, it was like having a sibling basically. She even gets a little emotional where she was like, I couldn't imagine my life without him. They even have a scene where I guess it was a recording from back in the day where you see Dallas as a child, and Pam puts down like cereal for both of them, and the monkey is like all up in her like space trying to see what she got, and Dallas is like, it's the same thing, basically really acting like that's her sibling. And I said, okay, ma'am. Okay. You then have Pam talking about how intelligent chimpanzees are and how they're like one of our closest relatives when it comes to like genomes and all of that stuff. And I'm like, if they are so intelligent, why do you feel so comfortable wrapping a cord around its neck and yanking it anytime it does something you don't like? Okay, Pam. You even see Pam till this day, like still performing at the circus, and you see her with the like the cord in hand, and the chimpanzee is just throwing a ball into like a little kitty basket, a basketball court thingy, a basketball hoop. And I'm just kind of like, people pay to see that? But Pam says she loved her chimps down. And I feel like she loved them a little too much, because the pictures that they showed, I was fine with the first picture where she had kind of like the Farrah Fawcett hair, and the monkeys were all around her in like suits, like they was like some dance troupe. But then the last picture they show is Pam topless with like a cane or something, and all these monkeys around her. And I said, why are your titties out? Like, why the melons out, ma'am? Like, why, what were you going for? I'm confused, Miss Pam. So then the person that's like the producer is asking Pam, well, where would one get a chimpanzee back in the day? Like, how did y'all get them? And she was like, oh, you got to go to Missouri, and you got to go to Miss Connie Casey. So then we get introduced to this journalist named Peter. And Peter talks about how like he has written a couple of like articles on Miss Connie Casey and the things that happen in Missouri. And he basically said, because Missouri has such lax laws when it comes to like people owning exotic animals, like it's like a free-for-all. And they actually show then they show us a montage of like I guess an auction in Missouri, and it's legit like gazelles on auction, camels. I think I saw a beautiful white peacock, like kangaroos. Like, I'm like, so y'all really be going over there and just taking these animals from their natural habitat so you can have them in your house? horrible, just stealing. And so Peter is like, I've been following Miss Connie Casey's story for a long time, like a very long time. So then we end up meeting Eric, and we find out that Eric is actually the director of Tiger King. And he's like, I've always like been around exotic animals. I've had exotic animals, and I just wanted to shine like a spotlight on the exotic animal community. He even is like a part of the like montage of Eric. We see him in this house with this lady that owns a little capuchin monkey, and she got like a closet full of dresses for this little monkey and just taking pictures like it's a baby. I said, she's not well. And so Eric just like, they're interesting people. And I said, they crazy people, but okay, Eric, go off. And basically we find out because Eric did such a good job with Tiger King, and it showcased, it put a very bad negative spotlight on the exotic animal community. They don't really rock with Eric. So Eric has been wanting to document this case with Connie Casey versus PETA for a long time. But we actually get this scene of Eric like driving past the like compound where the chimpanzees are still housed, and the energy is it's not very welcoming to Eric. So Eric said, let me get up out of here. I said, you might want to, for you get pew-pewed, Eric. I said, them people don't play about their animals, okay? They don't. They really don't. And I'm saying this as somebody who has worked in the animal field. That's what I got. Like, I went to school for. Animal people can be crazy. Some of them are borderline psychotic. So I'm just like, Eric, you better tread lightly over there. So then the screen goes to flashes, and it says July 2021. And we actually meet Tonia again, but you can tell that she's a lot younger in this scene. So the Tonia we meet in the beginning of the episode is a little bit older. So you can start to tell that they're like filming this like kind of out of order. So they're putting like timestamps on everything. So in 2021, they meet Tonia. They're actually on the compound, but Eric's not there. Derwin is. So we meet Derwin. Derwin used to work with the Ringling Brothers. He actually graduated from their like clown school. And so he knows all about the ins and outs of like people owning exotic animals. He actually did like 2 years in federal prison for trying to smuggle reptiles into America. I said, okay. And so Eric asked Derwin to be his proxy director, pretty much be the false director so that they can get the camera crew in there and get their footage that they so desperately want and need. So we actually see Derwin meet up with Tonia, and they're talking. They're like, the vibe is a little okay. Like, no one's too crazy right about now. And so we find out that Tonia used to be a nurse, but she decided to quit her nursing job and move down to Missouri to be a volunteer at Connie's foundation, or her compound at the time. All the chimps are going crazy. When Connie pulls up, they are going off. And then Derwin is kind of like, is it normal for them to be like this amp? And then Tonia is like, well, they're not used to men being around. So you can tell that a lot of the male chimps were like asserting their dominance, walking back and forth, beating on their chest. They were like touching their private parts to let them know this ain't what you want. And Derwin was like, oh, okay. So we actually see a scene of Miss Connie, and Connie basically was like, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be on camera. Don't put me on camera. And Tonia is the one that's really trying to encourage Connie to do the documentary or be the face of the documentary, because she feels like Connie's story needs to be told. She feels like Connie has been like railroaded by PETA, and now it's time for her story to be told. But Connie is just tired, and she really don't want to talk anymore. So as Derwin has talked to Connie and Tonia, he pretty much feels like, okay, this is more of a love story. Like, the way they speak so passionately about these animals, it's giving like a love story. And I said, I don't know how you got there, sir. I don't know how you got there, Mr. Derwin. I don't know how you got there. But this is crazy to me, because like I said, as someone who has a background with animals, and I've done internships at zoos and with like government programs, there's a boundary, and you can clearly tell that these people have crossed that boundary. That's the crazy part. You can clearly tell that these people have crossed the boundary, because I have actually like met zookeepers, and it's like they still realize these are animals and should be treated as such, like still with respect and dignity, but these are not your children. Like these are not, like that's not your child. And the greatest example I can give is like when I was growing up in DC or Northern Virginia. Yeah, everybody knows that DC has a national zoo. And I remember when I was younger, we went to the DC Zoo and there was hippos. Like they were pygmy hippos. People swore that I was lying, but I knew for a fact that I saw hippos at the DC Zoo. And it wasn't until I got a lot older and I was like, I did an internship with the zoo. Well, not really with the zoo, but with like another program that was working in conjunction with the zoo. I asked one of the directors, like, I was like, didn't y'all have like hippos? And the lady was like, oh yeah, we did have hippos, but we transferred them to a different zoo that could house them and give them a lot more room and space. And the zookeeper went with them. So oftentimes, a lot of the zookeepers bond with these animals so much that they will move to the different facilities that they go to in the different zoos. So it's just kind of like, I understand the love, but again, there's a boundary there, and it's clear as hell that these people have crossed it. Okay, clear as hell. To get more information about Tonia and Connie and how Tonia and Connie came to be in relation to each other. So we find out that Tonia for a long time had capuchin monkeys. Those are the ones that, you know, they sit on your shoulder and everything. Like I remember what's it called? Night at the Museum. I think that is a capuchin monkey, the one that was bothering Ben Stiller's character the whole entire time that didn't like him. And so she's like, I've always liked chimps, but like could never afford them. So she found out that Connie at the time had this like special on her at the compound where it's like if you pay $300, you can have like a meet and greet with a chimp baby. So Tanya came down, paid her $300 and fell in love. She was like, if I had more money, I would have came back the next week and did it again. So then Tanya decided, you know what? I know Connie needs help. I'm going to come move in down here with Connie to help her. So Tanya actually moves down to Missouri. She lives on the compound in this camper. And now she is a part of Connie's like Chimp Foundation. You know, she's helping, volunteering and everything. They then start to give us more information about some of the chimpanzees. Now Tonka, which is crazy to me, is Tonka was in Babe's Pig in the City. And I remember watching that movie like 3 or 4 times when I was like in daycare. Like they used to put that on all the time. I'm a 90s kid, so I don't remember the like storyline, but when I saw the scene of Tonka walking down the steps and the monkey with the long hair, the girl monkey, and she was pushing the pig's nose down, I remember that scene and I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe that was Tonka. And so we find out that most of the, like, if not all of the chimpanzees we have seen in movies came from Connie's foundation, but at the time her thing was called the Chimp Party. So we get a little bit more about Connie. We found out that her first chimp she got was named Coco, and they tried to say like Coco was wild caught. I said, no, y'all stole him from his mother. You saw Coco and you stole him from his mother because you like to steal. Because that's what talking about. You wildly caught him, though. You stole him. Okay, so they took Coco. Connie, we actually get like this old video of her from 2018 where she's talking about like they would put peanuts in their mouth and Coco would eat them out their mouth, and how in love she was with Coco with her first husband, and her daughters loved Coco down. Then she ended up getting another monkey called Bridget. So Coco was a male, Bridget was a female. They ended up creating Bo, and then that started the process of Connie starting to breed these chimpanzees. So we then end up finding out that, like I said, most of the chimps that we see in like old media came from Connie. And so they said like that's 5 generations of chimpanzees that have been in Hollywood because of Connie. At the time, she had 42 chimpanzees. She even would take the chimpanzees to like parties, like children's parties that like people will book her. Kind of like how people do now when they have like a petting zoo and it's like goats and like pot-belly pigs and like ducks and rabbits and stuff. She just did that with chimps. Now, you could already tell that their diets were horrible because in this montage, you see Tanya give one of them a Powerade, like a huge Powerade, just put the bottle in there and he pops the top off of it. I don't know if it's a she or a he, and just starts drinking the Powerade. I said, I know that's not good for it. I said, where's the water? Give them water. Then you see one eating a chocolate cupcake. I said, then you see boxes of McDonald's in there. I said, y'all are, and I actually Googled what do chimps eat like on a regular basis. Let me see if that's in my phone. Because I was like, I know that's not healthy. It says they're supposed to eat fruit, roots, nuts, leaves, plants, flowers, insects, meat, and more. And it says meat is actually less than 2% of a chimp's diet. So really, they're supposed to eat a lot of fruits, nuts, and leaves and stuff like that. But you out here feeding them cupcakes, Powerade, and Happy Meals, ma'am. Are you serious? Are you serious? So then we get introduced to another volunteer. Her name is Angela. And Angela just talks about how she was just so in love with all the chimps that she fell in love with them. She fell in love with them. She felt like this was the place she needed to be. She really loved working at Connie's establishment. We then get introduced to I guess Connie's like second husband, Mike, because Connie's first husband and Mike don't look the same. They do not look the same. But we end up meeting Connie's husband, Mike. And Mike was the one that was really pushing Connie to like put the animals like in television, to really have them be a part of Hollywood. And for the time, they were doing very well. Like very well, like charging like I think it was like 30,000 for the chimps, like to breed them, for people to like get them and stuff like that. They probably had a really nice fee when it came to what's it called? When it came for like appearances in movies and things of that nature. And we actually see this one scene where it must have been like a meet and greet at a mall, and everybody pulled up to meet Kirby, one of the chimps. And like for the time being, everything was cool. Like Kirby was hugging on the girls, taking pictures. And then there was this little girl that her mom was holding her baby. Kirby reached and grabbed for her leg. And I mean, he yanked. I said, oh my God. I was like, he gonna break her leg. But then Mike grabbed Kirby before he could go any further. The little girl freaking out. I would be freaking out too. Everyone's like, oh my gosh. And Mike is trying to calm everything down, being like, he wasn't trying to hurt the little girl. I think he just got excited and wanted to see her. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And he's saying all of this while he's like being interviewed by, I guess, like the local like press at that time. And Kirby is bites his nipple, like just bites his nipple on TV. And I said, and that didn't hurt. He kept his composure. He kept his composure. So then we go back to Angela, and Angela starts to realize that like everything that she thought was so golden about the chimp party and about Connie and about Mike, it wasn't what it seemed like. Her rose-colored glasses were falling. She then starts talking about Mike's face, and you can tell when you first see Mike, and then when Mike was doing that interview, that something happened to Mike's face, okay? And what we find out is that Bo, and remember Bo was the baby of Connie's first monkey that she had. So Coco and Bridget had a baby, and that baby was Bo. Well, Bo was in the cage. Mike was like messing with Bo, playing around with him, and Bo got tired of Mike and snatched off his nose. Like legit ripped off his nose. I said, oh my God, ripped off his nose. And Angela is the one that's telling the story that Bo ripped off his nose, and pretty much Connie had to go into the enclosure and find his nose so that they could reattach it to his face. And y'all want these as pets. Y'all want these as pets. And then next thing you know, Angela was like, Bo ended up dying. And like I said, Angela is asking Connie, girl, where Bo at? She walking around the facility looking for Bo, and she can't find Bo. And Angela goes to Connie and she's like, girl, what's up? I know he ripped off your man's face, but where he at? And Angela says that Connie told her that Bo died of natural causes. And now Angela's antennas are way up, because she's like, Bo was fairly young. And so I Googled how old, or like what's the lifespan of a chimpanzee, and it pretty much said between 32 to 39 years of life, and depending on if it's male or female, that can have an effect on how long they're supposed to live. So she's just like, Bo was not that old, so I don't get how he died from natural causes. So at this point, Angela is very much turned off by the chimp party air, like, project or whatever they want to call this at this time, because of the bad press that they started to receive because of the journalist Peter. So Peter got access to the compound, and what he saw actually startled him. He was not expecting to find older chimpanzees in cages. He basically said it was just old chimpanzees sitting in cages. It basically was like a prison. Like, it reminded me of a puppy mill. And I've seen some puppy mills. I've actually like volunteered with like washing and the dogs after it's bad. It's bad. So I can only imagine like what he really saw. And pretty much what we found out and what Peter found out, and even Angela tells us, is that when the chimps get to a certain age where they're no longer like manageable or cute to people anymore, they basically just put them in cages and have them just sitting there doing nothing. They don't have enrichment, they don't have anything. They're just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. And he was just like, it was a sad sight to see. I did not expect to see that. So he ended up writing an article about it, and it pretty much exposed how bad the conditions were at Chimp Party. So because of the bad press, they decided to change their name to the Chimp Foundation. So they were no longer doing chimpanzee parties, not really even like outsourcing the animals to like Hollywood anymore. Now they're supposed to be like this like sanctuary or this foundation. So then enter PETA. Now I'm gonna be honest, I don't really see it for PETA, especially when they pulled what they pulled a couple of years ago, basically trying to liken Black people's struggles to the same struggles as animals. I will never forget that picture I saw where they had a monkey's hand and a black hand talking about imprisonment. That pissed me off. I was like, so we just gonna dehumanize Black people even more. Then they had the audacity to say that phrases like beating a dead horse or kill two birds with one stone were the equivalent to homophobic and racist slurs. I said, y'all done lost your minds. Y'all have lost your minds, okay? You have lost your minds. But in this case, they were in the right for this. They were in the right for this. So we end up seeing Alan Cummings. He's a famous actor. I've seen him in a bunch of movies, and he talks about his relationship with Tonka. I've actually seen the movie that he was in where he met Tonka called Buddy. It came out in 1997. Alan was talking about how like all I did was come to work and play with monkeys. Like that was a fun thing to do. And he was like, I really bonded to Tonka. Like he was my guy. Like when he saw me, he would get excited to the point where like when the trainers were trying to keep him back, eventually he would look at them and they would just be like, go. And he would run and jump into my arms. Like we really had a bond. And he thought Tonka had retired because he was told that what they told Alan was like after 5 years of like doing showbiz, Tonka will retire to somewhere in Palm Springs. So in his mind, he just thought Tonka was like at like some like chimp resort or maybe at some rehabilitation center, just living his best life and living out the last of his years. So he was very upset and shocked when he found out the way that Tonka was living. Said Alan is not happy once he has realized what type of life Tonka has been living, because he was like, y'all told me Tonka was out in Palm Springs living his best life, being free, and he basically stuck in a cell all day. He ain't in prison. Why he in there? So Alan started working with PETA, basically advocating for them to like step in to pretty much figure out a way to like help Tonka and the other chimps that are being housed at the Chimp Foundation. So Angela somehow, some way got in cahoots with PETA, where they actually gifted her these glasses where they had cameras in it so she could like give them footage to build a case against Connie and Mike, who owned the Chimp Foundation. So you actually even see her ask Connie like, how much would it cost for like someone to get a chimp nowadays? And I think Connie says like $65,000. And Angela even says like Connie and Mike love their chimps. They even built a like enclosure in their bedroom so the chimps could be in the bedroom with them. like the baby chimps, like that's how much they wanted them to be around. But Angela was like, maybe me and Connie have a different version of what love is supposed to mean, because I just couldn't believe that, like this is what was going on. Like and you could tell that Angela was conflicted, but she ultimately realized she was doing the right thing. So she ends up getting this footage to PETA. PETA ends up filing a lawsuit against not Angela, but against Connie and Mike, basically saying that they are in violation of the Endangered Act of 1973. And at first, PETA wasn't trying to take the monkeys away from them. They were pretty much trying to get Connie and Mike to enrich the environments and comply with the orders of the Endangered Act, like giving them a balanced diet. No more McDonald's, Taco Bell, Powerade, Gatorade, and cupcakes. Like they need to be given fruit on a daily basis every single day. We found out that they were giving them like expired produce. Like they were like, no, fresh fruit every day. You need to start mimicking the lifestyle of what they would be like if they were in the wild. On top of, they need more enrichment, and the enclosures need to be bigger, and they need to be like repainted and everything. And they ended up like submitting like a 365 page report of all the violations that they saw in the video that Angela gave them. So Tonia pretty much was like, okay, I stepped in, basically saying I was gonna get all of these things together. Tonia ain't did nothing. Okay, she was trying to talk this good game about like, here are my rules. I make sure all of these are locked and this and that. And it was like, Tonia, you still out here giving them Happy Meals and cupcakes, and like, no, Tonia, no, y'all just don't know what y'all doing. Y'all don't know what y'all doing. So then Tonia had started working with Connie like 6 months after the lawsuit was actually posted against her. So Tonia was like, I'm here to help, basically helping. She ends up saying that she spent like over $500,000 of her own money trying to comply with PETA. And I'm like, how do you have $500,000 but you're living in a camper, and not even a nice camper, like a basic camper? I don't believe that. And then we end up meeting Jared, who is like a general counsel for PETA, and he was like, she delusional because we didn't see anything of any changes. We also find out that Tonia started to pretty much like post what she was doing on Facebook. Like if they would put a new hammock in one of the rooms, they were like posting that, like trying to portray that they were actually complying with the changes that PETA was asking them to do. But Jared was like, if you look at what they were doing, that was not $500,000 worth of changes. And it wasn't. It really wasn't. And so Tonia just feels like PETA just wants to take their animals away, wants to take their kids. These are their kids, and they just want to take them away. So next thing you know, you end up seeing Tonia tell Connie, girl, sign over the chimps to me. Sign over the chimps to me, and I'll get all of the stuff together. And like, they're suing you, but they won't be able to take the chimps from me if I have them. And PETA was like, that's not how this works. And so they just added Tonia's name to the lawsuit. So now, like, I was like, Tonia, that was stupid. So like, you weren't in the lawsuit, so why did you think them signing you? The girl, no, that didn't work, Tonia. It just didn't work. So PETA, the guy from PETA, Jared, ends up saying, with Tonia being in possession of the chimps for the time being, after like Connie signed over her rights, they had 2 chimpanzee escapes. We had one escape, which is Carrie, and Carrie is somebody you don't want to, like, like the chimp you don't want to mess with. Okay, so we actually get the scene of Tonia playing with Carrie, and Carrie almost like yanks Tonia up against the enclosure, but she like pulls her hand away quick enough, and she was like, I can tell when he about to do that. I'm here with him. And I say, you want a bit more here with him or not? You just got lucky your reflexes was fast. But you can kind of tell Carrie about, like, Carrie here to mess things up. And Carrie was the first chimpanzee to escape. He escaped. They actually have footage, and like it was on the local news, of him trying to get into somebody's car. Like they were all stopped, and he was trying to open up the door to get into somebody's car, but eventually he got caught. Then a female and male chimpanzee got loose, and PETA was blamed for it. Tonia basically blamed PETA for it. She basically was like, she believed, and she did like a Facebook Live where she was like, she believes PETA came onto the compound and unlocked the cages and let the animals out. And Jared is like, she's delusional. But I said, she's not. I mean, she is, but she's not, because there's been plenty of stories of PETA breaking into labs and just releasing animals into the environment. And there's also documented proof of y'all disrespecting people's boundaries, throwing things on their fur coats, throwing like stuff in their faces where people thought it was anthrax. Like, it's not too far fetched for her to believe that y'all would go to that level and like release the animals to make her look bad. Like, let's just call a spade, Jared. Y'all don't have that best of a rep. So I can't even say that Tonia was being delusional with that. But the issue was Tonia hadn't complied with any of the demands that PETA and the government had set for her. So they had called her back to court to basically be like, girl, it's time to give the animals up. It opens up and it's like July 2021. And we see Tonia in her good bang and her Ross fashions pull up to the courthouse. You could tell that she is emotional, that she didn't get a lot of sleep. Derwin is trying to cheer her up, being like, well, you do look nice and you smell good, okay? And goes into court. They end up saying like 2 hours later, and Tonia lost her case, and all 7 of the remainder chimps that are still at the compound will be taken and going to rehabilitation centers, like separate rehabilitation centers. And what they showed was a lot better than what they're living in. So I didn't really feel bad for Tonia. Like, it was a beautiful landscape. The chimps look happy. They look like they all in their little troops. Like, they looked happy. So I said, okay. So, and when I tell you Tonia was mad after that, she was like, there goes one of them mother effers right there. And you actually end up seeing one of the lawyers, one of the PETA lawyers, like talking to the news, because Tonia spoke to the news, one of the news outlets, and the same news outlet was talking to the lawyer. And she was just saying like, they're very highly intellectual animals. Like, you know, I don't know, like, what they're going to think if we're not there. Like, are they going to think we abandoned them? They will probably be happy. They will probably be happy. But we find out again, like, all 7 of the remaining chimps that they have, because they no longer have the 42 that they started off with from back in the day, are going to different rehabilitation centers. So we find out on the day of the actual movement of the animals, Tonia has to be 2 miles away. She has to be off the premises by 8 p.m. She is breaking down. When I tell you she breaking down. Tonia is upset. She crying. The monkeys can tell something wrong with her. She was like, they know. I said, oh, Miss Tonia. But we end up finding out 2 hours before she had to get off the premises, they put cameras everywhere. And they put cameras everywhere so everybody could see what they were doing when the sheriff's office, the new rehabilitation center that was taking the chimps, were doing that day. We find out before she left the premises, she bought all of them Happy Meals. And I said, see, Tonia, this is why they taking them. Because why are you giving them Happy Meals after they told you they need a balanced diet? So she giving them Happy Meals. She putting what's it called? Reese's Pieces. Like, she's giving them Reese's Pieces, like what's it called, y'all? You put it on your, what's it called? Whipped cream in their mouths. I said, girl, I don't even think that's good for them. They drinking chocolate milk. I don't think that's good for them. They drinking chocolate milk. You giving them hamburgers, French fries, soda, just messing up their systems. And honestly, throughout this whole entire first episode, I'm like, I bet you none of these chimps have ever been to the vet. They have never had a vet actually come out and make sure that they're okay or do like health screenings. Because I was like, they can't have that with the way y'all feeding them this mess. Because this is bad. This is bad. And like I said, Tonia having a full-on breakdown. So next thing you know, we see the sheriffs pull up. We actually see the camera crew try to talk to them, and they were like, oh, hey, but y'all got to get off the premises. They were like, can we film over there? And they was like, yeah, you can. And like, when I tell you, they rode in there deep. It was like at least a good 20 cars. And then we see this huge trailer from this project that I think is called the Project Chimps, which is like this like ventilated like AC trailer. And I was like, okay, that's where they're probably gonna put them. You then see like volunteers with the same like name on their gear. You also see a veterinarian, maybe 2 or 3, because I saw somebody like writing down stuff. And he also had like a stethoscope around his neck. And there was this lady, and I was like, oh, they're probably checking to make sure they're okay, checking their vitals and everything. You actually see them like tranquilize all of them and take them out. As they're doing that, Connie, I guess, is allowed to be on the premises, but Tonia isn't. She rubbing on the animals, and I mean, Miss Connie breaking down. Connie is like, she is distraught that they taking her animals. Like, she is upset that they're taking her animals. Okay. And there's another lady there that I guess is like maybe a volunteer or a family member trying to like console her through it. And then the saddest thing you got is like when everybody is gone and it's just Connie in there in the actual enclosure, and it's quiet. Like, you don't hear the chimpanzees. It's dark in there. She's just sitting there, and you can tell that she is like contemplating life. Like, how did I get here? To like being at the tippy top of being like one of the top chimpanzee breeders to now I like all of my chimps are gone. Like, all of them are gone. Like, my whole entire life was like taken from me. But I mean, like, they was taken from you because you did not comply with what was legally correct for your animals and morally correct for your animals. So they end up saying that, you know, the chimp rescue thing, like taking the animals off the property, went like great. The only bad thing is one chimpanzee is missing. And I said, watch it be Tonka. And who was it? It was Tonka. Because I knew Tonia wasn't going to let Tonka go, because Tonia was like, that's my boy. Like, I had to do something. So then we get this scene of Tonka. It has to be a later scene, like maybe current time. She got a whole new different hair, like a whole new hairstyle. You could tell that she's been like doing lip fillers, because her lips are way bigger than what they used to be. And she's like at the casino. And I'm like, girl, where did you take that? Where did you take Tonka? I mean, out of all of them, I feel like Tonka needs to be set free, because I feel like I think she ends up saying Tonka is like 38 years old. And I'm like, Tonka has probably not touched grass in years. In years. Y'all have had him in that supply closet for the past like maybe 20 years of his life. Let him free. Let that monkey free, girl. Let that monkey free. But that's how the episode ended. Right, you guys, if you made it this far, thank you so much. As always, remember to be bravely authentic, and definitely hop down in the comments below and let me know your thoughts. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.